Hello there, my friends. How do you play D&D? Well, if you watched my first video, I showed you about the ability scores. Today, I'm going to tell you a little bit about your skills on your sheet. So, I am Pittsburgh Pat. I teach D&D to kids and new players, and I'm going to teach you. So, let's take a look. All right, here we have our character sheets, and here's a couple different styles. This is one that's handwritten by me. Yeah, I could probably be neater. This is one that's printed off of the D&D Beyond site. Basically, to review, we have our ability scores here, and we have the modifiers for each one here. So when your DM asks you to roll a D20, and a D20 to review is a die. Most people are familiar with this kind of die. This kind has 20 sides, so it goes from 1 to 20, and it's pretty cool shape, huh? So you would roll this die, take the result. So this is, say, a 12. And if I wanted a strength check, I would subtract 1, so I would get an 11. If it were an intelligence check, I would add 3, so it would be a 15. And then I would be told by the Dungeon Master whether or not I succeeded on that roll, because he would assign a difficulty class of a certain number I would have to roll above in order to succeed. But let's go through these skills. I'm going to zoom in here a little bit so you can see these skills. And you can see this is labeled right here, skills, this box. So the character sheet can be confusing, but if you break it down into its constituent components, it's not. These are the ability scores, and these skills derive from the ability scores. So what do I mean by that? Well, for instance, acrobatics derives from your dexterity skill, right? So in this case, our dexterity modifier is -1, and so is our acrobatics skill. And why is that? It's a 1-to-1. It's exactly the same. That's because we do not have proficiency in dexterity. But if we did, so we have proficiency in intelligence, right? So see where it says P here? We have certain intelligence abilities that we have proficiency in. You can tell that the skill is based on a certain ability because right afterwards it has the 3-letter abbreviation for that ability. So in this case, say Arcana, which is a knowledge of arcane things that are secret, hidden, or lost, then this is based on the intelligence. So our intelligence modifier is +3. We have proficiency. Our proficiency bonus is +2, which is right here. So we add 2 + 2 + 3, and we get +5. Same thing for history. So let's go through them. Okay, so acrobatics. Why would my Dungeon Master ask me for an acrobatics check? Well, let's say that I am flipping over a wall, right? And I want to do that with like some flair and panache, so I'm like pole vaulting, right? Well, that might be like an acrobatics check, right? So to do something like a cartwheel down the street or a backflip to avoid being hit. So I might use that for acrobatics. Animal handling, that's pretty self-explanatory, I think. Arcana. We also have athletics. And I will list these here, but then I will go through them in separate videos in more detail. But as you can see, these are basically more specific checks that can fall under these different subheadings. So say instead of saying, like, I want you to make a general intelligence check, I might say, well, that involves religion, so I want you to make a religion check. And that's usually better for the player because the player might have proficiency in that skill. Now, in this case, this wizard does not have proficiency in that skill, so it's the exact same roll. So there's really nothing to lose by having the Dungeon Master be more specific, and that's why they often are. Now, if it's something that doesn't neatly fall into one of these categories, he might just ask, or she might just ask for a standard ability check, which we did in the last video. So let's continue. Arcana, athletics, deception, history, insight, and intimidation. So what's the difference between insight and intimidation? I'm sorry, insight intimidation, investigation. What's the difference between insight and investigation? Well, insight, you get a clue as to what insight might be because it's a wisdom-based skill, right? Whereas investigation is an intelligence-based skill. So we said before, intelligence is more like book learning and like academic smarts, whereas wisdom is more like experiential and maybe like instinctual thoughts. So an insight check might be, is this person lying to me? And an investigation check might be, well, this room has been tossed, so somebody was looking for something. Are there any clues as to what that person was looking for? So think of it in those terms, right? So this is more of a feeling, and this is more of an observation. And then you have medicine, nature, perception, performance, persuasion, religion, sleight of hand, which is like a magician's trick, right? Like a stage magician's trick, not like magic in DnD, and survival. So if you have any questions about these specific ones, let me know. I will do videos about each one of these in a little more detail. Maybe I'll do them like 3 at a time or so. Or maybe I'll do them by grouping, by their pairs. So that's basically your second step to learning your character sheet in Dungeons & Dragons. This is basically to inform you on what your character might do. Now, think about it this way. You're playing a character. Your character is not committed to any of these things. It just may happen to be better at some things than others. But your character really can do anything. Like if your character wants to try to solve a riddle, your character can make an investigation check without being proficient in it. Just may not be as good. But if you roll the dice well enough, it might fall in your favor. So it's usually worth the effort to take that chance. All right, so this was part 2 of my series on how to play D&D. I hope you guys enjoy yourself. Thank you so much. And yeah, if you have any questions, let me know, and I'll see you all in the next one. Take care. Oh, thanks for subscribing. We've got 14,000 subscribers now. So thanks a lot for that. I'll see you soon.